with 365 Sports. Legarrette, we had you on during the Super Bowl, and again, we appreciate your time today. Before we get to some things that you are passionate about and what you want to also promote, what are your thoughts about some of the notes in the NFL yesterday with Russell Wilson to Denver, Aaron Rodgers' big deal, and just your thoughts about what you've seen?
Man, it is nuts to say the least. I mean, dang, where you signed 4 years, $200 million, that is, man, that's unbelievable. I mean, and you can't say that about a lot of things in the NFL. So, and as far as Russell going to Denver, I got bittersweet feelings for that because I thought Russ was going to be a lifer with the Seahawks. I don't know what happened there. You know, I don't know if it's because they didn't go get him a line or whatever. But I thought it was going to be a lifer. But I mean, he immediately makes Denver a Super Bowl contender. You know, so that's, you know, I think Denver won that side of the deal.
Legarrette, you played in 3 different Super Bowl or a 3-time Super Bowl champion. How does that inform you when you watch games, knowing what it takes for teams to get there, and then watching the offseason and moves that people make to try to get to a Super Bowl?
I mean, it's pretty cool, I guess, to watch. I mean, but you know, as far as being involved in it, I mean, and seeing it, you know, formulate. I mean, you got to have. I mean, I know it's a Super Bowl every year, and you know everybody always thinks that they know what teams are going to get there and what teams aren't, but we don't know because you got to deal with injury aspect of it. You know, you got what guys are going to show up and give you what you think they're going to give you. You know, it's a lot of, man. Everything has to align perfectly in order for you to win the Super Bowl. Fortunately for me, it has 3 times. But it has to line up perfectly.
Legarrette Blount with us, Sick 'Em 365 Radio, and I mean you would know that the way games came down to crazy, right? Like an inch or two, a play or two, a catch or two, a miss or two.
Right.
The exhilaration, or what they call it, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat.
Yes, exactly. and trust me, man, that agony of defeat hurts more than the thrill of victory. So when people say I hate losing more than I like winning, I can fully relate to that. You know, so
is there a specific loss that is still to you, whether at Oregon and or in the NFL, is the one that hits you the most?
I say one that probably hit me the most. I think when I was with the Buccaneers, my first year, I think I had an opportunity to go to either win or take the game into overtime against the Falcons. I think we was probably on like the 2 or 3 yard line. I don't remember exactly. And I got stopped, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that game. I mean, I played good, but at the end of the day, I'll never forget that game. And I wish I could get that one back because at the end of the season, if we would have won that one, we would have been a playoff team. We went 10-6.
Legarrette, I think people may not be, I mean, they may be familiar with your story from Oregon on to the NFL, but the pre-Oregon story, look, I went to school at FSU, so I know where Perry, Florida is. I think a lot of people don't know where Perry is. I mean, it's a small town, you know, a little bit south of Tallahassee. Not many people know Taylor County. You didn't, you know, people didn't know about you. You had to go to community college in Scuba, Mississippi. How much does that, you know, reflect on your life now when you look back on your NFL career about how you had to build up from nobody knowing where Perry was and where to find Legarrette Blount?
Man, it always stays. It always stays with me. You know what I'm saying? It always puts a chip on my shoulder in everything I do because I do feel like, you know, coming from the area that I came from and coming from such a small place, and you can attest to this because you know where it is. And you've probably driven through there. The whole 4 or 5 miles of length it is. You probably you know, so it I always have a chip on my shoulder because, you know, I always felt like I was the best guy in high school, I felt like I was the best back coming out, and junior college, I felt like I was the best back coming out, and even after the whole incident at Oregon, when I was at the University of Oregon my senior year, I still felt like I was the best back coming out. Like I didn't, you know, and unfortunately for me, it didn't, you know, the draft picks didn't show how good I was, but I mean, I know teams do. You know, like I said, I keep that on I keep a little chip on my shoulder because of, you know, how I got here and what I went through and what I had to do to get my name recognized and noticed.
Legarrette, I mean, you brought up the incident in Oregon. I mean, how much does that still stick with you, and how hard is that, you know, a moment of frustration can lead to maybe a lot of people out there misunderstanding who you are or coming to a determination on who they think you are as a person? Like, just emotionally and individually, how hard was that to deal with, and maybe still to deal with in some ways because of, you know, what people think of you as a person?
I mean, back then when I was younger, it bothered me a lot, put me in a pretty dark place. I wouldn't leave my apartment. I wouldn't go to class. You know, just because everywhere I went, it was, man, oh crap, bro, you man, I would have done like, no matter what, no matter if it's positive or negative, it's just hearing it. You know, I would go to my class and pull up in there, and then everybody like, oh, LG, what's good, bro? Yo, like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you can't even start class because they're doing this. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, I appreciate the support. You know, obviously they're gonna support me because they go to the same school. They're gonna support me, but you know, I was overwhelmed at the time. I was all over the news. I was all over ESPN. I was all over everything. I couldn't catch a break going to class. I couldn't catch a break going to campus. So I went to a dark place, man. I locked myself in my apartment. And I gave access to probably 3 or 4 people to, you know, hey man, grab my work, or, you know, go grocery shopping whenever you do, bro, bring me some food. And you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. It was tough. It was really tough because I was a 20-year-old kid or 21-year-old kid or however old I was, you know. But nowadays, I could care less if anybody brings it up. I could care less. It doesn't affect me, man. I've done so well for myself. Yep. Overcome so many obstacles and so many, you know, I've had so many people try to tear me down, and this is coming from middle school teachers and middle school principals telling me I'm gonna be a dropout drug dealer, to high school teachers telling me you ain't gonna do shit. You know, you might as well just try to get to a regular job because the NFL isn't for everyone. You're not gonna get there. You know, no one from Perry has ever done that. You know, so you know that's all motivation for me. You know, that I heard all of that. I heard all of it. The worst of the worst. I heard it.
And all you did was just go play nearly 10 years in the NFL. So yeah. I think you got the last laugh.
You know what? That's important in this day and age where you hear so much now, and it's becoming much more of a topic, and people are not afraid to discuss it, which is called mental health. Just, you mentioned a dark place. There's nobody that's watching, listening, or even in this studio that has not been once or multiple times in a dark place. It's a really hard place to be, whether it's self-inflicted or if it's just part of life, isn't it?
Right. It's an extremely hard. You got to have a great support system. You got to have, in order to get through it, man, depending on what it is, you got to have a great support system. You have to have good people around you. And you just got to focus on yourself and focus on getting better and bettering yourself and putting yourself in a better position and situation moving forward. But like I said, at 20 years old, 21 years old, man, you're not thinking that. You're like, man, damn, my life is over. My life is ruined. I went from being one of the highest projected running back drafted to not even getting drafted. Like, you know, it's all that goes through a head of a 21-year-old, you know. So I didn't get to no dark place to where I felt like I needed to harm myself, but I just felt like I needed to isolate myself inside and stay away from people. That's how I felt. Like, I just felt like there was nobody that was out to do any good for me. I felt like anybody that was going to like reach out to me or say anything to me, it was going to be negative or bad. That's just the kind of place I was in. That doesn't mean that was what people's intentions were. It's just what my thought process was.
By the way, Perry, you mentioned, Paul, because you went to FSU, drove from Texas to Tampa many times. and drove through Perry on the way. Not sure what highway that is or road that might be, but yeah,
it's all in one.
Yeah,
so, yeah, you're not. The directions are easy. You get here, and then you'll be in Perry. So it's
Legarrette, you are right now trying to help athletes, but really not just athletes, but also with what you have with your CBD products and what you've been able to do with those who are battling or have battled mental health or even aches and pains and even sleep patterns that might be interrupted. Your thoughts about how you jumped into the CBD product, which has exploded around the country?
Man, I've just been grinding and figuring out a way to, when I started it, I just wanted to figure out a way to help people. Professional athletes were the people that I had in mind when I first started this, because at the time we were the ones that were dealing with the most mental health issues. We were the ones that were, having problems sleeping, or, either having problems falling asleep or having problems staying asleep or whatever that the case may be. And we were the ones that are having, anxiety attacks or freaking out or, this, that, and the other. So this was a product that I did start for professional athletes, NFL guys specific, but that's not what it's limited to. So I just want to make that clear. This is not limited to professional athletes. This is for, like you said, this is for a stay-at-home mom. This is for a construction worker. This is for an independent contractor. This is for a registered nurse, a doctor, whoever is dealing with any kind of discomfort or pain. This is for all of you guys. And as far as, as far as the mental health aspect of it, these anxiety drops are second to none. My 14-year-old daughter, she won't leave the house without them. She won't go to bed without taking her gummy. Me, I've always kind of had a problem with sleeping. These are a tremendous help for me. I'm a big guy, so I was never one of those. I did when I was in the league early on, but I slowly started figuring out, like, man, this isn't gonna be like good for me in the long run. In 10 years from now, my kidneys might fail, my liver might, fail. These pills aren't the right way, and this is no knock against the NFL or anything. I love the league. I would love to work with them and help them in this aspect and in this space. But at the end of the day, if you go to a trainer or someone in the league and say, hey, my back tight, my knee hurting, they're gonna rub it out and then they're gonna give you 2 pain pills. Here you go. Or if you're dealing with anxiety, they're gonna give you some kind of anxiety pill. Or if you're dealing with sleep, they're gonna give you a sleeping pill. So all of these things are that's 3 different things. That's 3 different pills for all these things that I'm explaining. And the difference in what I'm doing and what in the pills is, what I'm doing is all natural. It's all 100% organic and natural. It's 100% THC free. It's a CBD isolate. This is the healthiest way that you can deal with any of those issues that you're dealing with. This is 100% the healthiest way to deal with these issues.
I want to put the website, and Craig got a follow-up website, lgsfeelgood.com. Instagram, same thing. And then Facebook, LG's Feel Good. So if you want to go online, Paul, I think you're searching through it right now. Right now for Legarrette Blount and LG's Feel Good, standing up for athletes. Craig?
Legarrette, if you were still in college, you could, I guess, legally pitch CBD pills and make some money off of it with name, image, and likeness now. I was curious your thoughts as somebody who was a big star in college, and I would imagine would have had a lot of Oregon companies, wanting to do business with you. What are your thoughts on college players now having these name, image, likeness deals and kind of a bit more freedom in that regard?
I'm all for it, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. I've been waiting for this to happen for a long time because I do feel like college athletes get taken advantage of. I do feel like they get used to sell like tickets. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, let's just be honest. You go into these campus stores and stuff. And you see a jersey that say number 5, and you go to USC. I mean, it ain't got Reggie Bush's name on the back, but we know whose jersey that is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
They're making money off of stuff like that. Like, how and now it's legal for people to make money off of stuff. And I just don't think it was right, because when I was at Oregon, man, you wouldn't imagine how many number 9 jerseys was in the crowd, and I'm trying to go to the Duck store and all these different stores to get a number 9 jersey for like my parents and stuff. I can't even find my own, but I'm not getting no money from that,
Yeah.
So I think I agree with it. I think it's long overdue, and I think that the NCAA is definitely taking a huge step forward in this regards.
Legarrette, we've had some great guests on today, and eye-opening things that are mentioned, and sometimes always my favorite, are the ones that dig down into the human life and human interest in people who come back and things like that. And we appreciate you. Not saying you had to come back, but you did have to battle some things. And in this day and age of social media and the way that can just blow somebody up, whether it's because of anything you might do, I can't even imagine. Yeah,
so you got to be careful nowadays, you know what I'm saying? See y'all old heads. So
Sure.
y'all ain't social media ain't gonna hurt y'all. Worst thing they're gonna get y'all doing is drinking a beer at the bar or something.
Like, yeah, I know. Well, the youngest of all of us is 34. Yeah, we are old heads, man. Well. Hey, Legarrette, thank you. Appreciate your time and what you do. Again, it's lgsfeelgood.com. 3-time Super Bowl champion, Oregon star running back Legarrette Blount. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys, man. It's always a pleasure, man. I appreciate you guys having me on, man, anytime.
Yes, sir. I love the story, Paul. Great that you brought it up from Perry and what he did. He went to junior college in Mississippi, then became a star at Oregon. Yes, he had to deal with the punch. Yeah. And that was something that could have just crushed a lot of people. Almost, it did crush him for a while.
Let me tell you. So there was a girl, Jennifer, that lived on my floor my freshman year and worked at the dorm. She was from Perry. She had this real thick Southern accent. And in Florida, you don't really get Southern accents all that much. In that part of Florida, maybe you do a little bit because there's Georgia and Alabama that creeps in. But, we used to call her. Her nickname was Perry. And one weekend, she goes, "Why don't you guys come down? We're having a big party." And we drove down to Perry. And it was somebody's birthday. And it was a blast. But it's not a 1 stoplight town. But I'll tell you, it's not a 4 stoplight town.
Yeah, it's not. I can't remember that road, but if you get on the wrong one, it could take you forever.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the woods essentially, and it's a small town, and it is even somebody as good as Legarrette wound up being, and he had to go to community college in Mississippi to prove it, East Mississippi Community College, which people know about. I guess they're the show, right? That was the show, the Last Chance U. I think that's the one. But yeah, he had to go there, but people don't just go and find you in towns like Perry.
Yeah, but if you're talented enough, they're going to find you. And maybe not at Perry, but they found a junior college found him, and then someone found him at a junior college. That's what I always think. Yeah.
And he was. Think about a guy who, just that close to Florida State, all there, that wound up being that good and going to Oregon. That's a whiff on their parts.
He was good enough to play at every one of those places. When we come back, Kendall